Rain had a strange way of making the world look heavier than it really was, and tonight, it felt like the sky itself was crying. Noreen pulled her thin jacket closer as she stepped out of the small roadside diner where she worked the night shift. She was soaked from head to toe, her hair dripping, her shoes squishing with every step. The neon sign behind her flickered half-broken just like her life. She whispered under her breath, "Bus alamatted car, Cal manager ni warning letter dia high. Ache or complaint hui na to job gai." Her hands trembled at the thought. She needed this job, her rent was due, her mother's medicines were piling up. And she was tired of being strong, tired of pretending everything was okay. As she reached her old white pickup truck, she froze. Through the sheets of rain, she saw an old man walking slowly on the road, drenched completely, briefcase hanging from his hand, and his other hand pressed against his forehead as though the weight of the world rested on it. He walked like someone who had nowhere to go and no one waiting. Cars sped past him, splashing water, but no one stopped. Something in Noreen's heart tightened. "Yeah, admi to gokul toot gaya lagda high," she murmured, staring through the rain-soaked windshield. She hesitated. She had no business stopping for strangers. She was alone. It was late. And Pakistan ki sadkan par rat main rukna? Dangerous. But then the old man stumbled, his knees buckled. Noreen didn't even realize when her hand pushed open the truck's door. Rain hit her instantly as she leaned out from the side gate, shouting, "Sir, are you okay? Please stop." The old man looked up slowly, his face pale, eyes red not from rain. From pain, he took one more step and nearly fell. Noreen jumped out, not caring about the rain anymore. She grabbed his arm. "Please sit, you'll get sick." "Itni tez barish main op akle kya kar rahe hain?" The old man's voice cracked, hoarse like he hadn't spoken in hours. I didn't know where to go. I lost my way." Noreen guided him carefully to the passenger seat. Inside the truck, the heater barely worked, but it was still better than the storm outside. The old man shivered, his hands trembling as he tried to wipe his glasses. Noreen looked at him with soft eyes. "Sir, if you want, I can drop you home. It's okay." He stared at her, surprised, almost confused by the kindness. You don't even know me. Why would you help a stranger on a dark road?" Noreen smiled gently. "Because someday, I pray someone helps my mother if she's ever alone like you." A tear slipped from the old man's eye. He whispered something under his breath, but she couldn't hear him over the rain. Finally, he nodded. "Thank you. My name is Walton." Noreen didn't know that name, didn't know who he was, didn't know how powerful this old man actually used to be. All she saw was a tired, broken human being in the rain. She turned on the headlights and slowly drove off. Neither of them knew that this tiny act of kindness tonight would flip both of their lives upside down tomorrow morning. Because the next day, the same manager who threatened to fire her, the same man ready to destroy her future, would be standing face to face with the old man she saved in the rain. And he wouldn't be the same broken stranger anymore. He would be something far more powerful. Something that would make everyone in that diner freeze in shock. The rain finally stopped by dawn. Noreen barely slept after dropping Mr. Walton home. She kept thinking about him the way he kept whispering, "I didn't know where to go." As if the whole world had abandoned him. She prayed he reached safely. She prayed he found peace, but right now, she needed a miracle. Because today was the day her manager promised. "One more mistake, Noreen, and you're gone." She stood in front of the diner, hair tied neatly, uniform ironed, hands cold from nervousness. Inside, the morning rush was already building. Cups clanked, orders were shouted, people complained, just the usual chaos. And then there he was, Mr. Clarence, the manager, a strict, sharp-tongued man who believed compassion was a weakness. He looked at her like she was a burden he couldn't get rid of fast enough. "You're late," he snapped. Noreen swallowed. "Sir, it's just 2 minutes. 2 minutes is enough to fire you. One complaint, and I'll replace you in an hour." Her heart dropped. She nodded silently and rushed to serve the tables. But something strange happened. Around 9:30 a.m., the diner's noisy morning suddenly fell silent, as if someone had lowered the volume of the whole world. The door chimed. Everyone turned. An elderly man stepped inside with a neatly pressed suit, polished shoes, an elegant umbrella, and a calm authority that made people stand straighter without knowing why. Noreen froze. Her breath caught. It was Mr. Walton. But he didn't look broken anymore. He looked important, powerful, like someone who wasn't ignored, someone people listened to. But even then, his eyes searched only for her. When he finally spotted Noreen across the room, he smiled gently, gratefully. She stepped closer. "Sir, are you all right? You left suddenly last night." Before she could finish, Clarence barged in between them. "Sir, welcome. Table for one?" "We have premium seating." Walton raised a hand. Just one gesture. Clarence fell silent instantly. "I'm here," Walton said calmly, "to speak with her." Every customer turned their heads toward Noreen. Clarence blinked, confused. "What, with the waitress? Why?" Walton's voice deepened. "Because without her, I might not be alive today." The diner went dead silent. Noreen's eyes widened. "Sir, please." "I only did what any decent person would." "No," Walton interrupted softly. "Most people drove past me." "You didn't." Clarence's face turned red. He forced a smile. "Well, sir, she's a bit slow with service. Customers complain a lot, you see." Walton suddenly turned his head slowly, and his expression hardened. "What did you say?" Clarence stuttered. I mean, she has issues. I was actually planning to fire her today." Walton's voice boomed across the diner. "Fire her?" People dropped their forks. Clarence stepped back like someone had slapped him. Walton walked closer, his presence filling the room. "You would fire the only employee here who actually shows kindness? The only one who stopped her car in a storm to save a stranger? The only one who treats people like humans?" Clarence swallowed. "Sir, I didn't know. You didn't care to know." Walton turned to Noreen, his voice gentle again. "May I ask, how long have you worked here?" She whispered, 3 years, sir." "And how long have they threatened to fire you?" Her eyes felt heavy. "Almost every week." Walton exhaled sharply, then looked at Clarence with eyes that could burn through steel. "In that case," he said coldly, "I want to speak to the owner of this diner, now." Clarence froze. "That's me." Walton smiled slowly, a smile that meant trouble. "Good, then we have a lot to discuss." Noreen's heart pounded, because she didn't know yet. The old man she helped wasn't just any wealthy stranger. He was someone with the power to change her entire life, and he was about to use every bit of that power. For her. The diner felt frozen in time. Customers whispered. Employees peeked from behind the counter. And Clarence, the manager, the owner, the man who had controlled Noreen's fate for years, stood trembling before the old man she had rescued in the rain. Mr. Walton stepped closer, his shoes clicking sharply on the tiles. Noreen had never seen someone radiate such calm authority. "Clarence," he said in a firm voice, "tell me, how do you treat your employees?" Clarence forced a smile, trying to charm his way out. Sir, I'm strict, but only for discipline." "You know how these people are always making mistakes?" Noreen's chest tightened. "These people?" Walton's eyes narrowed dangerously. "These people?" he repeated quietly. "Do you even hear yourself?" Clarence blinked rapidly, sensing the shift. "Sir, I only mean—" "Noreen has a history of being late, slow, and—" Walton raised an eyebrow. "Oh, so you watch her closely?" "Yes, sir." "Good," Walton said. "Then surely you know her mother is sick?" Clarence stuttered. I didn't— You didn't know," Walton said coldly. "Or you didn't care?" Clarence had no answer. Walton turned to the employees behind the counter. "You there?" He pointed at a young cook. "How does this manager treat his staff?" The cook hesitated, but Noreen stepped forward. "It's okay." "Speak the truth." The young cook swallowed hard. "He shouts a lot, sir." "Humiliate Kartahai." "Or Harwak Nakaunki Demki Dita Ritahai." Several employees nodded quietly behind him. Walton's jaw tightened. He turned back to Clarence. "Is this how you run your business? Through fear? Through insult?" Clarence lifted his hands desperately. "Sir, please, you're misunderstanding." "No," Walton said sharply. "You're the one who misunderstands. You don't deserve to manage people." The entire diner gasped. Noreen covered her mouth, stunned. Clarence stumbled back a step. But sir, who are you to decide that? For the first time, Walton gave a small smile. I thought you'd never ask. He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a card, and placed it on a table where everyone could see. The golden letters shimmered under the diner lights. Walton Industries Group, chairman and founder. Everyone froze. Someone whispered from the back, Is he that Walton? The billionaire philanthropist? The one who owns half the commercial plazas in the city? Walton nodded politely. Yes, that Walton. Clarence went pale, almost green. Sir, I didn't know. I am so sorry. Oh, now you are sorry? Walton asked calmly. When this girl, he pointed to Noreen, was working double shifts, when her shoes were torn, when her mother needed medical help, when she stood crying in the back alley because you humiliated her in front of customers, Clarence's lips trembled. Sir, please, Walton stepped even closer. If she hadn't stopped her truck in the rain last night, I could have collapsed on the road. She saved me. And today I will return that kindness. Clarence swallowed hard. What do you mean, sir? Walton looked at Noreen with soft eyes. Tell me, child. Do you want to continue working under a man like him? Noreen's throat tightened. She shook her head slowly. No, sir, I don't. That was it, just that one sentence. Walton turned to Clarence. Effective immediately, he said, his voice ringing with authority. Noreen no longer works for you. Clarence sighed in relief, thinking she was fired. But Walton wasn't done. He added, She will work with me. The diner exploded in murmurs. Clarence's eyes widened like he'd been punched. With you? As what, sir? Walton smiled proudly. As my personal assistant. Full salary, benefits, medical for her mother, and respect, something she hasn't received here in years? Noreen clutched her apron, her eyes filling with tears. Sir, I don't know what to say. Say yes, he whispered kindly. You earned it. Clarence stood frozen, humiliated, defeated. Walton leaned toward him one final time and said quietly, Let this be a lesson. Power doesn't come from shouting. It comes from kindness. And that was the moment Noreen's entire life changed. But she had no idea that accepting this offer would pull her into a world she wasn't prepared for. A world full of secrets. A world full of power. A world full of dangers. And in that world, someone was already watching her. Noreen stood frozen in the middle of the diner, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. Had this really happened? Just yesterday she was worried about being fired. And today, the billionaire she saved in the rain was offering her a job she never even dreamed of. Customers whispered excitedly. Employees smiled at her with pride. Even the cook whispered, Wah! Noreen ki kismet tu ajbadal guy. But Noreen didn't smile. She looked at Walton with trembling eyes. Sir, you're being too generous. I'm just a waitress. I don't know how to work for someone like you. Walton chuckled softly. You know what you did last night. You showed compassion. Fearlessness, humanity. He tapped his cane lightly on the floor. These qualities are rarer than skills. Clarence stood in the corner, embarrassed, but still trying to salvage his pride. Is she starting today? Walton gave him a cold look. Actually, yes, Clarence stiffened. Walton turned to Noreen. You have 5 minutes. Get your things. Her hands shook as she untied her apron. This uniform had been her life for 3 years, but now she felt free, like she was stepping into sunlight after living in darkness. She grabbed her small handbag and looked around the diner one last time. For the first time in years, she didn't feel small. The ride that changed everything outside, a black luxury car, waited. A driver in a suit stood by the door, opening it respectfully. Noreen almost stepped back. Sir, I can't sit in a car like this. Walton smiled. You can, and you will get used to it. She sat hesitantly, her heart beating fast. As the car began moving, Noreen gazed at the city from behind tinted windows, the same city she had walked through in cheap shoes, carrying heavy burdens, now passing by like a movie. Walton watched her silently for a moment. You live alone? He asked quietly. With my mother, sir. She's sick, he nodded. I read her medical reports this morning. Noreen's eyes widened. How? When? Walton smiled gently. When you dropped me home, I recognized your worry. I asked a friend at the hospital to check her files. She swallowed hard, overwhelmed. Sir, I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to, Walton replied. Kindness returns, always. Arriving at Walton Industries, the car stopped in front of a tall glass building. Huge, shining, powerful. The kind of building Noreen only saw from afar. Employees hurried inside with files and laptops. Security guards stood tall and alert. Noreen stared at it like it was a different planet. Sir, I can't go in there dressed like this. Walton chuckled. You're not going in. He pointed to a side entrance. You're going to the staff lounge. They will give you everything you need. When she walked in, a woman in a formal suit approached her immediately. Miss Noreen, we've been informed. Please come with me. The woman handed her a new outfit, simple, elegant, professional. Noreen stared at the clothes, unable to believe they were hers. When she came out dressed properly, she didn't recognize herself. She looked like someone who belonged. Someone with purpose. Someone with a future. The office Walton waited for her on the top floor in a massive office with glass walls overlooking the entire city. Noreen, he said softly as she entered. Welcome to a different world. She sat across from him nervously. You will learn everything, he assured her. I will guide you myself, but first. He handed her an envelope. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a job contract, salary far higher than anything she had imagined, plus full medical coverage for her mother. Tears welled in her eyes. Sir, this is too much. No, Walton interrupted. This is what you deserve. But as he pushed the contract toward her, Walton's hand suddenly shook. Violently, his face went pale. Noreen quickly stood. Sir? Sir, are you okay? He gripped the edge of the desk, breathing hard. For the first time, Walton looked fragile again. Like the man she found in the rain, he whispered, Noreen. There's something I didn't tell you. Her heart froze. Walton looked at her with tired, fearful eyes. I'm running out of time. Noreen's breath caught in her chest. Walton, the billionaire who walked with unshakable authority, the man who saved her from a life of humiliation, the man who treated her with more respect in 1 hour than anyone had in years, now sat trembling, pale, and weak. She rushed to his side. Sir, please, sit down. What's happening? Walton lowered himself into the chair slowly, his hand still shaking. Noreen, I didn't want you to see this so soon. See what? She whispered. He exhaled shakily. I'm ill, very ill. Noreen covered her mouth. Sir? But you look fine. Appearances, he smiled sadly, are easy to maintain when you've spent your whole life hiding your pain. He looked out the tall glass window, rain still dripping from the morning drizzle. For the past year, I've been fighting a condition that is slowly destroying my heart. Doctors told me 6 months ago that I must avoid stress. Avoid overwork, avoid cold weather. His voice cracked. And yet, the night you found me, I was walking alone in a storm. Noreen blinked, stunned. Why, sir? Why would you put yourself in danger like that? Walton closed his eyes. Because I had no one. The room went silent. No one? A billionaire, alone? Noreen whispered. Sir, Epijitne powerful hun, apke paz too. No, child, he interrupted softly. Power gives you employees, not family. A tear slid down his cheek. When my wife died 12 years ago, my only son left me. Saeed, I cared more about money than him. My relatives only visit when they want something. I became a name, not a person. He looked at Noreen with eyes full of exhaustion. That night, I left my mansion alone. No driver, no assistant, no guards. I walked into the rain because... He paused. Because I didn't care what happened anymore. Noreen stepped closer, her heart breaking. Sir, you shouldn't be alone in this. You deserve someone. Walton looked at her. Really looked at her. That's why I hired you, Noreen. She froze. I didn't just hire you out of gratitude. I hired you because you remind me of the kind of person I promised myself I would become, but never did. Her eyes filled with tears. Sir, Walton's voice softened. You're strong, Noreen. You carry pain with grace. You stand up for others even when no one stands up for you. You kept your heart alive in a world that tried to crush it. He took a deep breath. And I need someone like that beside me, Noreen swallowed. What do you want me to do, sir? Walton slid a file across the table. Help me put my affairs in order. Help me restore what I lost. Help me rebuild the relationships I destroyed. And when I'm gone, Noreen gasped. Sir, please don't say that. Walton gave a sad smile. When I'm gone, I want someone good to take care of the people who depend on my companies. I want someone with a clean heart to protect what I built. His voice grew shaky. I want you to become my strength in my final days. Noreen's hands shook as she held the file. Sir, I'm just a waitress. I don't know business. Walton reached out and gently held her hand. You know humanity. I can teach the rest. Her tears finally fell. Sir, I won't let you fall alone, I promise. Walton's eyes softened. Finally peaceful. Good, he whispered, because starting today, your life is going to change even more than you realize. A shadow suddenly appeared at the doorway. Someone was standing there, watching, listening, someone who did not want Walton empowering this girl. Someone who had his own plans for the billionaire's empire, and this person would become Noreen's biggest threat. The door creaked open, and a tall young man in a suit strode in, his eyes as cold as ice. Walton whispered his name. Zion. It was his son, the one who had abandoned him. Zion sneered at me. So this is her? The waitress you picked up from the street? Walton's voice was firm. Noreen saved my life, but Zion just laughed cruelly. And that makes her qualified to stand beside you instead of me? He stepped toward me, his voice sharp. Dad, can't you see? She's manipulating you for your money. Before I could defend myself, Walton slammed his cane on the floor. Enough! He roared. You left me when your mother died. You only came back because you heard I was dying. Zion's face darkened. You're choosing her over me? Walton's voice trembled with pain. I am choosing the person who saved my life when my own son wouldn't even answer my calls. Zion stormed out, vowing revenge. Walton turned to me, his expression softening. You saved me when I was invisible. Now, let me save you from the storms of your life.